What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your Sunday afternoon so far. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm going to talk about who could potentially be replacing injured closer Edwin Diaz, who is lost for the season, or he says that he's not lost for the season, but I believe we all believe he is lost for the season after suffering a torn patella tendon during the victory for Puerto Rico against the Dominican Republic during the World Baseball Classic a couple of days ago. Now, the Mets have a couple of in-house options whom they could look for in terms of potentially taking over as the closer. So, you have guys like Adam Ottavino, Brooks Raley, and David Robertson, who could all take over for the New York Mets in terms of being a closer by committee for the beginning and the middle of the season, and depending on how they perform, they could potentially be some type of combination that could take over long-term for the team. David Robertson in particular has been a closer in the past. Last year, he had a 2.40 ERA for the St. Louis Cardinals with a 1.25 whip and 63 2/3 innings with 35 walks and 81 strikeouts on his season. He has the most experience of somebody that could potentially take over at the closer position for the New York Mets in the absence of Edwin Diaz. You also have somebody like Brooks Raley, who is dealing with a hamstring injury but is expected to be ready for the start of the season. He's another guy that could be thrown into the mix from the left-handed side as the potential closer for the New York Mets going forward. And then, of course, you have another guy in Adam Ottavino, who is more of a middle reliever of anything. He's a right-handed specialist, can come in, get out some left-handers on the opposite side, really help out your team going forward. Would the Mets be interested in maybe throwing in one of those three guys as your potential closer for the short term and maybe for the long term? We'll have to find out. Or the New York Mets could try the second scenario, and that is going the free agent route. How about somebody like Zack Britton? Zack Britton is going to be throwing a simulated game on Thursday at UC-Irvine for about 8 teams that are expected to be in attendance, one of them being the New York Mets, just to show that he is all the way back from that torn UCL that he suffered back in late 2021, and that he pretty much missed all of last season until the end, and he's just going to show that he is able to get some of his stuff back that he had when he was with the Baltimore Orioles and at the beginning with the New York Yankees. And obviously, the Mets and Britton have some type of connection with one another because of the fact that their manager, Buck Showalter, used to be the manager of the Baltimore Orioles when Britton was the closer of the Orioles from 2014 all the way to 2017. Even though he is 35 years old, still a left-handed pitcher, still can be able to fool some of the batters out there and be an interesting addition. You also have guys like Archie Bradley, Ken Giles, Corey Knobel, Mike Minor, and Chris Archer that could also be options on the free agent route the New York Mets could potentially look at to add to their relief pitching group, as well as they just added Dennis Santana, formerly of the Texas Rangers and the Minnesota Twins, who also might be in the mix for the New York Mets in the closer role or just by closer by committee. The Mets could also go through the trade route, and one interesting name that could be involved in the trade route, Edwin Diaz's younger brother, Alexis Diaz, from the Cincinnati Reds, and last year he actually had a terrific season. A 1.84 ERA with a .96 whip in 63 2/3 innings with 33 walks and 83 strikeouts. He's another option the New York Mets could potentially look at to add to their bullpen and could be involved in the closer mix with his older brother out for the season. Some other options, Dilson Lamet, the former San Diego Padres pitcher, that was with the Colorado Rockies. You also have Scott Barlow and Amir Garrett of the Kansas City Royals. Garrett, also a former Cincinnati Red. And you have Dylan Floro, formerly of the Miami Marlins. Those are a couple of other options that the New York Mets could potentially look at in terms of adding to their bullpen going forward. Other options, Pirates closer David Bednar, Texas Rangers closer Jose Leclerc. You also have Ronaldo Lopez of the free agents to be that are going to be free agents after this season. Ronaldo Lopez of the White Sox and former New York Met Trevor May, who's currently with the Oakland Athletics, that the Mets could be looking at. And then you could also wait for the opt-out options. Some opt-out options could be Jesse Chavez of the Atlanta Braves, Alex Colome of the Washington Nationals, Heath Hembree of the Tampa Bay Rays, Dominic Leone of the Texas Rangers, and Brian Shaw of the Chicago White Sox. All 5 of these options could be available via the buyout. Or the opt-out. These are some other players that the New York Mets could potentially be in if they want to add another closer to the mix for their team going into the 2023 season. If, in fact, they would rather have Robertson, Ottavino, and Raley be more of the back end of the bullpen instead of being the closer. There's a lot of options that the New York Mets could go with. And another option, Bryce De La Orca. One of their minor league prospects, 26 years old, throws about 100 miles per hour, 96 to 100 miles per hour from the right side. He's another option that the New York Mets could potentially throw out there as a guy that could replace Edwin Diaz at the closer option. There's multiple different avenues the New York Mets can go. The trade route could be one, and the Mets have some prospects that could interest other teams, like a Rafael, or like a Ronnie Mauricio, like a Mark Vientos. I don't think they're going to trade Alex Ramirez, nor are they going to trade Brett Beatty or Francisco Alvarez. But Mauricio and or Vientos could interest other teams if the New York Mets decide to go the trade route in terms of looking for another closer in the back end of the bullpen. But these are just some options the New York Mets might have interest in terms of looking for back end of the bullpen / closer options going into the 2023 season, whether it's internally, with Ottavino, also, they could be looking at Raley and Robertson, or they could be looking at some external options, whether it's free agent route, whether it's through the trade route, or whether it's going to be looking at the opt-outs. Either way, Mets are going to be going into the season without their closer. Diaz is most likely out for the season, even if he says he's not. Most likely he will be, but we'll have to wait and see. Mets also are going to be testing the free agent market, going to put in at least their guys for now, see how they perform, and if they do well enough, maybe the Mets will keep them out there and go closer by committee. We'll have to wait and see. But you guys let me know in the comment section what you think is the best option and route for the New York Mets to go in terms of being the closer to fill in for Edwin Diaz, closer by committee, in-house, opt-outs, free agents, trades. You let me know in the comment section. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and give a sub to NYG Jeffy T85 for more news updates and chatter surrounding the New York Mets. I thank you very much, everybody. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your Sunday evening / early night. Take it easy, and as always, let's go New York Mets. All you got to do is you got to believe in those boys from Queens.